All right, welcome to the This Is What It Takesters that are out there. Welcome to our episode here. I'm Michael Mackniak, your co-host, along with the big boss, Victoria Cuore. Say hello, Victoria.
Hi, Michael.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm just happy to be here.
Uh-huh.
Happy to be here at all. I'm happy to be here with my good friend Craig Sokowski, who is from my neck of the woods up in the northern Jersey area. Even though he'll never admit that, we live close together. I'm over in Connecticut. I'm a New Englander. He's a Jersey. He's a New
Gonna
York.
talk like this all the time now and have coffee.
He's a true New Yorker. I'm not really. I'm a little.
Nobody talks like that.
I'm a little removed from there. Nobody talks like that, he says. Well, anyway, guys, Craig is here to tell us a few stories, some of which will resonate really, really deeply with you if you are from our neck of the woods and frankly the whole country, as Craig was a responder to the rescue and cleanup mission that took place after the 9/11 World Trade Center
And thank you for that,
disaster.
for what you did.
Was that?
I was thanking him for what he did.
Yeah, thanks to everybody for what they did there. You know what? You know what moved me? This is about how I am. What moved me was the story that they were telling about all of the rescue dogs, all the canines, and the trauma that the canines were experiencing, and their feet were getting all chewed up from the heat and from the concrete and everything like that. So I actually made a donation to help them out because I was moved by, what the canines were going through in the cleanup effort. So how in the world, Craig, did you wind up? Well, you're very close. You said you live right over across the river from Manhattan. So, is that what made you just get up and go and get over there to try to help out?
Yeah, I was renovating two houses in downtown Jersey City, one on First Street and one on Second Street. And I came out of my First Street house, came off my stoop, and I had perfect view of the top of the towers, and one of them was on fire. So I ran around the corner to get my fiance at the time because she was a photographer, and I was like, grab your camera equipment and went, and we started, humping down to the river because it's literally right across the river.
Right.
And we got down there, and like through all the pandemonium and chaos and the sirens and fire trucks and all of that chaos, we watched the first tower come down, and you know, my ex has these pictures of like it coming down, like dun, 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 like she has a lot of pictures, and the cops were freaking out and like get back, and there's a pass through that goes to Liberty State Park, and we walked back that way, and from that view we watched the second tower come down, and then we went into Liberty State Park, and 45 minutes an hour later, but the boats were coming over bringing people, and
Mm.
they all came off disheveled, covered in dust and blood, and like in all stages of being hurt. And I was like, I have to get over that. I've been in construction my whole life. I've been on every construction project you could think of. I was actually one of the people that built the battleship Missouri Pier at Pearl Harbor. So I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I've been on a lot of projects,
Yeah.
and
Be there after that happened, and we were just talking sort of off the air. I was actually in a jury room when the towers first when they first got hit. And as I was saying off the air, I was actually out later that day. I went out to try to go fishing and decided that it was probably best if I stayed off the water. So it's funny how we all have everybody who grew up in that area at that time. And it's 25 years ago, man, which is hard to believe. Everybody's got a story where they were, but not quite like your story. I mean, you were sitting there seeing the refugees coming off the boats, in various stages of disarray and dishevelment and blood and that dust of all those pictures you see of the folks with all the dust. That must have been, I don't know, were you numb at the time? Were you just like, I got to do something and not even thinking about? Anything
Yeah,
else?
I wasn't thinking. I wasn't thinking about anything other than getting over there, and it took me 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that day nobody was going anywhere because everything was closed. And at that time, downtown Jersey City was like, it was literally one construction site because the whole place was being built. That was when you could have shot a cannon off and hit nobody at Exchange Place.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, because it was just starting to heat up with construction.
Right.
And it took me the next day, I got on a boat and we went down to not Liberty, Battery Park to
Right.
get off.
Yeah.
And the Coast Guard wouldn't let us off there.
No,
And it was,
I'm
and that
surprised
was,
that it was that soon you were able to get over there.
well, because they started bringing boats back and forth now because it's the second day. So
Yeah.
they established some kind of egress and
Yeah.
egress. And people were coming across because they were, working there, whatever they needed to get home because they weren't home for,
Yeah.
that
There were
day, a
people that were
couple of
stuck down
days.
there for days. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the really profound part for me was when they turned the boat around at Battery Park, there was a baby carriage. And I have a picture of it. There's a
Um,
baby carriage just left there. And it was like, whoa, like what were they thinking about when they just grabbed the kid and ran?
yeah.
You know, like wow, that's wild.
That's like
And
the classic baby carriage going down in Grand Central Station. It was, I think, set in Chicago, but it's filmed in Grand Central. What was it? The Untouchables, right? With the,
I don't remember I don't
yeah,
remember what the
yeah,
name was, but it was just like dunk 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 dunk. It was
yeah.
just standing there like as a monument, and that
Oh, that's
was that was
awesome.
pretty wild. Then the second day of getting over there, I had my Tyvek suit, I had my respirator, and when people were coming off the boats, guys would come off, and you'd give them water and you'd wipe them down with towels because everybody's there for a couple days. And one guy, one guy had a hard hat, and I took the hard hat and I just pushed it to the side because he wasn't going back. The other guy had one of those reflective vests. I took that off him, put that on the side, and then got him going with going, and I put those two on, and guy was like, "Hey, you get over here, let's go," and I was like, "Sure, let's go." And to
Okay.
be honest, I had no idea what to expect.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. I don't think anybody did.
Actually helping.
I'm sorry.
How long were you actually down there?
2 days of the first 5 days.
Two
Wow.
of the first 5 days you were down there?
Two days of the first 5 days. Yeah, and I found out later you only had to be there 4 hours of the first 5 days to be able to get into the Victims Compensation Fund and World Trade Center Health Program.
Yeah.
And I was there
Just,
for 2 days, and I was like, ah, man, I hit the wrong lotto.
ju- just for reference, folks, I went down to ground zero probably sometime around, let's say, Thanksgiving, Christmas, somewhere in there. And there were still fires. It was still smoldering. It was all cordoned off, but it was still an active recovery site that later. So we're talking, September to October, November. 2, 3 months later, it was still going. So he's there 2 days later. So not to get too morbid about it, but it gave you some, or you believe anyway, that the reaction being down there caused you some health issues. Has it
Oh no,
caused?
it's not. It's not that I believe these
Yeah.
cancers are directly like they're so exotic that they're directly linked to 9/11.
And they've
Um,
identified certain cancers that are from 9.
yeah, there's like 69 right now, if
Really?
not more, because I haven't been in touch with that part of the world in a long time. But
Yeah.
yeah, but there's like specific one of my, because I had a malignant tumor in my right lobe of my right lung, and you don't get like you don't get those kind of cancers. You get them in your stomach. So it's like more people were showing up with them in your lungs. Then I
Wow.
have Barrett's esophagus, GERD, sleep apnea, and PTSD, which I help people a lot with. And I've had, man, It was 2012 when people were like, you should call the lawyers and stuff. I was like, lawyer, I went there 2 days. What am I going to get a lawyer for?
Right.
And come to find out that there was a lot of things that I needed a lawyer for. I had a collapsed lobe in my right lung, my lower lobe in my right lung in 2012 with pneumonia. And then I started getting pneumonia every 6 months or a year after that. And it was in 2017 that I went to Helen, Georgia. And when I went to Helen, Georgia, it was for an eclipse. And we were walking up the hill, and I'm an avid hiker. And I couldn't walk up the hill. And my heart was like beating out of my chest, and I was profusely sweating. And I was like, I don't know what's going on right now. Me and my wife and daughter were going, up this hill to look at the eclipse. And I was like, I got to go back down to the car. And I went down and I was like, you watch whatever you're going to watch. And then when you come back, we'll go to the hospital. I was passing out in the car, man. It was hard.
Wow.
And when I went to the ER, and the doctor was like, I believe you have a malignant tumor in your lung. And my first instinct wasn't about the cancer; it was to throat punch him because he said it in front of my 11-year-old daughter.
Mm.
And that's when I decided to become a patient advocate. That's when everything and my story with that gets more horrific with the medical system. That it's just it's a sick care system. It's not a healthcare system by any stretch of the imagination. I've
Well,
had
you're here in the right place because Victoria is the leader of the banner waving leader of the whole movement against the sick care system, as you called it. So, I'm sure, I mean, I'm interested, and I'm sure she's got a lot of questions for you around, yeah, what happened when you tried to get the care that you deserved. And thank you, as she said, for going over there and putting your life on the line like that. So tell us about that. Tell us about I mean, 10 years to 11 years later, finally get around to, well, getting forced to go to the ER because you can't breathe. I mean, what did you have to go through to get the care that you deserved and that you needed?
there's a World Trade Center health program that I didn't know anything about. It was in like 2018. Was diagnosed in 2017, had my bilobectomy. But it was like I have to talk about the story first. I
Yeah.
mean, my recovery out of the operating room when they took my mid and lower lobe out, my blood pressure bottomed out, so they couldn't give me meds for like 4 hours in the recovery room. And I mean, I was screaming. I had a chest tube, I had a catheter, I had the what is that called? Man, I forgot. I'm having a brain fart. Epidural was in my back.
Really?
And yeah, I had epidural in my back. I had the chest tube for the drain and the catheter, and each one of those was an event because the pain med doc, he tripped over the line and bent the epidural in my back. The the one woman, she pulled my chest tube out. She got caught tangled up in it, and she pulled my chest tube out. And then the best one was the nurse was cleaning my catheter, and she turned around the wrong way, and she got caught in the line and pulled my catheter halfway out. And I got a
Wow.
friend of mine that was an ER doctor, and he's reading my report. He was like, "Oh man, you're poor urethra, right?" Because that was blown up. Like when it goes in, they blow it up, and it was like,
I was
and
just writing about this. Oddly enough, I swear to God, I was just writing about this experience that I had too. I didn't know this, but when they stick that thing in there, at
Well,
the very end of it, they blow up this little balloon, and this
yeah.
little balloon is what holds it basically in place.
in place, yeah,
Before they take it out, they deflate that balloon.
yes,
And if they
yes.
don't deflate the balloon, you got a balloon coming through your.
Coming through your urethra, yeah. I still have pain to this day.
I got pain just hearing you talk
It
about
took it took me like a year and a half to pee straight.
it. Sure. You gotta figure out which way you gotta turn to the right. Oh my God, that is a horror story right in and of itself.
Yeah, it was a crazy experience, man. And I ended up like 20th, like 30 something surgeries and procedures since 2017. And that's nothing. That's nothing according to Victoria. I mean, she's got me beat. And
Oh,
you know,
Can't,
yeah,
I can't
yeah.
do that. I can't.
She'll toot that horn in a second. You just wait.
She will not.
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, the stories that we have, like, I was having so many surgeries and procedures in 2020. My body was literally just like falling apart.
Mhm.
So it was like I'd go in for stitches for something or some kind of stomach surgery because I was having bleed outs. And like I have Barrett's esophagus where I could be talking or drinking or eating and my throat will just lock. And it's the most horrific pain, man. And I had to learn how to, like, when it happens the first couple of times, immediately to the ER because I mean I don't know what's going on. My throat just closes. And I had to learn to like control my breathing, slow everything down. Because if somebody comes to help me, they could kill me because my body gets locked into this like state of shock. And it's yeah, I had so many surgeries and procedures in 2020.
Is this
And
common? Is this common for a lot of the survivors and responders from 9/11 to go through these post-operative things, or is this unique to you because you had, I mean, obviously you had the cancer, you got the surgery, you did what you had to do, and are all of these related to the mess ups from the surgery, or is it all related to the disaster that was the fallout from 9/11?
it's all toxic breathing. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, like GERDs and Barrett's esophagus is huge. Sleep apnea is huge because as you're inhaling, everything is going through, right?
yeah.
And your body shuts down to a point where it's like I have sleep apnea, but I can't use a CPAP machine because my you can't have forced air because my two lobes of my lung are gone,
Oh my
right? So
God.
it affects that, and and it's just in 2020, like I said, 2020, I had all surgeries and procedures. They took my gallbladder out. I had 4 times they told me I was potentially being treated for cancer. And they were only right once, but I got the scars for all 4 times. Twice for male breast cancer because that's huge in the 9/11 community for men.
Really?
Yeah, and they ended up taking 20 lipomas out of my chest. And then the last one, I was having my 13th, 14th knee surgery or whatever. I had a knee ablation that gave me 3 blood clots and almost killed me. While I was going through the lung cancer, they did the biopsy. That almost killed me. And it's just, horrific event after horrific event to where I needed to learn how to control all the pain and discomfort without drugs. Because as I was saying before, when I was taking them, I was a crappy person.
Oh, really?
And oh yeah, I was completely like, oh, I think Victoria and I were talking before. I was on dilaudid morphine, Percocet, oxys. I was on 2,400 milligrams of gabapentin, and my girls were like, "You're a crappy person. You're miserable," and I was self-isolating, like all the things that you do when you have diagnoses like that,
Well,
and
and you
it
become a drug addict.
paralyzes you with fear.
Yeah. And you become a drug addict because of it.
Well, I didn't become a drug addict. Amazingly enough, I
Yeah.
shut all of that down because I
No.
was telling Victoria I had an opportunity of living in a bush of Jamaica with somebody that was savant, and he showed me what the human mind can do and how you can alleviate things.
That's all.
And yeah, man, and this is what I'm
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
grateful I get to teach this, man.
Before we transition into that excellent, amazing story, I'm putting myself in the shoes of these doctors, and I know Victoria hates when I do this, but imagine these poor doctors that are looking at cases like yours and thousands of other people who, out of the goodness of their heart and out of their own courage, went to help, or just by sheer luck happened to be there, sheer bad luck happened to be there the day that this hit. And you have all these complications in your body. So every time they touch one thing, it's like they're messing up another thing. And the doctors themselves have to be so reticent and scared, especially in the society we live in, scared to try to do the art that is their, their work. So you gotta almost feel on the level for them, like, oh my God, every time I touch this is a bad Pandora's box, right?
Oh,
No.
are you waiting for a comment?
Well, just I know Victoria doesn't feel sorry for them. I'm
I
wondering
don't
if you
feel sorry for him at all. I think I, I mean, this is, you know, I got to be frank, right? So they told me 4 different times, and that I was going to potentially being treated for cancer. And I've gone through the epigenetics. I've gone through the quantum field and understanding all of this stuff and how you could shut the mind off. And the fourth time, the doctor told me I had a knee surgery and down here because I had to come down here for my health to get my health back.
Down here in
And
Mexico because
yeah, down in Mexico.
with American healthcare.
I can't get any health insurance because the last count was 1,900 a month. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
Before that they told me it was 3,900 with a $10,000 deductible. I had to sell my farm and pack up and move to Mexico. But I lived here before. I raised my daughter here, so I mean it was a place I was very comfortable coming to.
and for anybody listening, a lot of the southern North American countries, which is Mexico, all the way, I'm familiar with Costa Rica. I guess we would call Central America. They have pretty good health care. They have
Oh,
good
they
health.
got the best health care. I mean,
Yeah.
I have state of the art health care,
Yeah.
and the
So,
doctors that speak English.
right. So yeah. So anybody listening and doesn't know that, trust us, they have very good health care down there, and it's affordable, you know?
It's very affordable, and that's the reason why I'm here. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but like everything else, I ran out of money again.
Yeah.
I went bankrupt over this stuff. We sold everything numerous times just to keep my ass alive.
Right.
And grateful I'm still alive, and I'm grateful that I get to do what I do.
Yeah. So are we. And let's talk about that. So this whole heroic heroic tragedy, if you will, led you to figuring out a way to say, okay, I've got to beat this. I got to beat this medical system that wants to push drugs on me. I got to beat the system that wants to follow what we call, like, I don't know, boilerplate, or, just just cookie cutter procedures. And you decided that you were just going to overcome that and you're going to go off and do your own thing. So tell us about what that looked like and how what you did and how the hell did you get there?
So I like the pain that I was in after my bilobectomy was for like 6 years, and it it's you have to, like, the way I described it. I needed to figure out how I could describe the pain.
Mhm.
Right. So the best way, and it was the exact way, if you leaned into a table on a sharp edge, right, and you put your ribs, right, on the table, and you lifted your arm up, that was the pain I was in for 6 years. And people would look at me and be like, "You look fine, How come you're not working? How come you're not, going?" Well, they cut all the nerve endings or the nerves through my ribs, and I'm very grateful. For all the surgeries and procedures, I have little pinholes, man. I have holes, slices, little hole here, tuck over here. And, I lift up my shirt sometimes and I'm just like, I see holes. That's all I see are little holes. And I'm just like, man, I'm grateful. What I did was about 2.5 years post the bilobectomy, and like I said, the girls were like, you're horrible on these pain meds. I started studying epigenetics and listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza and how the human mind, and tapping into what my friend Louis taught me when I was living in the bush. I had an epiphany one time. I was at a 9/11 annual review for my health. And come to find out, after the x-rays, the doctor came into the room and she's like, "Craig, have you ever had a bad x-ray?" And I was just like, man, immediate biochemistry change, immediate, like, she's going to tell me I'm going to be dead by Tuesday. And then I just stopped, man. And I was like, you know what? Whatever she tells me is not going to wipe the smile off my face. And it's not going to make me have a crappy day.
Right.
And come to find out, she didn't even have my records from the World Trade Center health program. And so like, she didn't have anything to see that I already had my bilobectomy. So she was just looking at this cloud on the x-ray. And when I explained to her, I was like, no, I already had my surgery. He was like, there's no biochemistry change. Nothing. And I was like, oh, wow, this feels really good, right? Because we're so caught up on adrenaline and cortisol, fight, flight, and freeze, man.
Right.
We're not taught about the serotonin and oxytocin, where the feel-good chemicals. And I was like, wow, I love that state. That was my epiphany. That was when I was like, I really need to understand what this is more and more every day. And as time went on, started tapping into what they call the quantum field. And every human has an energy level. And the more you tap into the energy level, there's a light within us, right? I believe we're all light seeking the human experience. And I needed to rely on when I was molested as a kid, when I was a drug addict in my teens, when I was going through divorces, bankruptcies, losing houses, cars, businesses in multiple genres, multiple countries, where everything just started to, wow, I'm going through these things and I'm not feeling any biochemistry change, man. I love this feeling, right? Mm-hmm. So when I have recalls, and this is what I do with people, I have them recall whatever horrific event they've been through or childhood trauma or whatever, so they could feel that biochemistry change. Because it's an immediate shift. We have something called the reticular activating system, and all the RAS wants to do is please us. So when we're thinking about something, and our brain doesn't know the difference in time, doesn't know if it's past, present, future, no idea. So when we have these recalls, we also have the chemistry set recall that goes along with that state change. So when I put them in that state change and they feel it, and it's a horrible thing to do because, I'm like a cyborg, man. I'm watching facial expressions, micro expressions, perspiration. I'm watching how their eyebrows lift, like all their tells. And, you can see the uncomfortable, painful situation that they're in. And I used to work with traffic victims, right? I'll get into that later. But I used to work with the worst of the worst. I work with vets now, and just have people have this recall so they could feel that biochemistry change. And it's a crappy feeling when I go through it, because I don't want people to ever feel like how I felt. I don't ever want people to feel less than, right? So for the longest time, I felt less than. And when I have them have these recalls and I make them freeze, because I'm like, okay, you felt that biochemistry change, right? That uncomfortable, queasy feeling and all of that. Okay, you could actually do the same thing for good, but it's going to require some work.
Right.
It's going to
so learn and practice how to, instead of going to that negative place, put a different spin on it that makes it not happy, so to speak, but at least more of a positive, right?
More as a positive, but you can't see there's something called false positivity as well, right? You're thinking moonbeams and rainbows, and you're like, oh crap, man, I can't pay my bills. My spouse is a piece of crap, and we're a complete mess. And that's false positivity. You have to have that state change to become the person ahead of the event. That's what Joe Dispenza talks about, right? So I have become the shaman from Jersey ahead of the actual event of being the shaman from Jersey. So what I talk about, I talk about psychedelics and how things, really play out in the shroom sphere, dimethyltryptamine, things that alter your states to alter your states. And there's a lot of things now with ibogaine for drug addicts. One observation, and they never go back to drugs ever again. Yet we live in this sick care system to where all they want to do, like the 9/11 community, 9 out of 10 people are on some kind of, psychotropic drug to overcome their emotions. And it's like 25th anniversary. Oh my God, they have the recall with the biochemistry set shift, right? I have no emotional attachment to any of my stories. Zero. I could think about 9/11. I could think about being molested as a kid. I could think about drug addict. Nothing. Because I put the time and energy into myself. See, everybody's looking for an external scoreboard, right? It's like when this event happens, I'm going to change my life. And it's like, no, you need to change your life for the event to happen. So you need that shift inside of yourself. That's what I call sweat equity, because you're going to sweat, man. Because when you start having recalls of crappy situations and experiences in your life, you're going to go through those uncomfortable changes, but you have to stay in that uncomfortable zone, because our comfort zone is not going to save us. It's gonna appease us for a time frame.
Absolutely.
And we got to get radically uncomfortable being uncomfortable. We can't stay in that comfort zone.
No, I say that I'd say if you're experiencing discomfort, congratulations, because the place of being uncomfortable or dissatisfied is a great place, because now you're prone to, you want to get out of it. But as you say, it's work to get us out.
Because you want to go back to that. Like, as soon as you have that uneasy feeling, you want to go back to your comfort zone, because it's like everything that we've been taught is wrong.
It's a known, yeah. Yeah. And now what's the field that you're referencing, and who's the expert that you've been following?
It's called the quantum field. I call it the human Wi-Fi, right? Because it is. It's what your cell phone companies, right, have tapped into, because there's no lines here, right? There's no lines, not attached to anything. It's what your cell phone companies have tapped into with a certain dialed frequency that you get a cell phone bill, right? You ever notice, like, I'm in Mexico, so they get 5 megabytes, gigabytes, or whatever of data for free. And then as soon as it goes to 5 gigabytes, it drops down. Well, how did you do that? There's no lines attached to it. They tapped into the frequency. Humans have the same frequency. That's the reason why you could take 7 women from different parts of the world, don't speak the same language, right? Put them on an island, and in a few months, their menstrual cycles will start to sync, because it's everything. It's everything about the unknown. I believe more in the unknown, the things that I cannot see, than the 3D world, right? Because the 3D world is like the scoreboard. It's putting up those numbers, man. And I believe in the numbers that you can't see. And I mean, I'm talking like crying, hysterical, like just getting out of my head took me years. And I've developed some skills, and it's like, it's Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton talk about how you have to put your body in a different state. And the best way to put your body in a different state is to learn while you're sleeping.
Craig, when you went through all this, were you ever diagnosed with CRPS?
I don't even know what that is.
I don't either.
Complex regional pain syndrome.
I have no idea.
A lot of it has to do with like nerves and things of that nature. It also goes with PTSD. It's debilitating.
It definitely is debilitating. I just never tapped into like what it was called.
Yeah.
I've been doing this my whole life. I just didn't understand.
Right?
Yeah, it's like I've been tapping into it my whole life. I just didn't understand what it was called. And ever since I was a little kid, I mean, we used to do psychedelics when we were in school, right? In high school and stuff, and start to realize different state changes. And we used to play with state changes and what the body does during each state change. And as I started getting into it more and more, I started to realize you could listen to subliminal messages before you go to sleep. And as you go to sleep, your conscious thought is sleeping. So your subconscious picks up what's external, what you're listening to. And this puts you at ease, because 95% of our thought that we do every day is subconscious behavior. It's only 5% is conscious. 5% of everything that we do is conscious. So if your conscious is sleeping, your subconscious will kick in. That's when you start getting into pattern changes. That's when you start getting into behaviors. And, I love what I do so much. I do it all, 20 hours a day.
Yeah, you could see it. You're so animated, and you could see it in your face and in your and hear it in your voice how much you love the work. I want you to tell a little bit about the guy that you went into the bush with, though. What's that story?
My buddy Louis,
I want to see this Louis guy.
Louis, he's savant. He's 73 years old now. He's a Sicilian guy from Jersey City. I met him. And he was proficient in like 9 different martial arts, right? And he wanted to show me martial arts so I could protect him. I mean, yeah, Louis is just like one of those amazing guys, and he's not into like regular martial arts. He's he's so amazing with his thought process because his computer is wired different, right? Because he's savant, and his parents wanted to, I don't like the term retarded, but his parents wanted to know if he was retarded in the 50s, right?
Right.
And the doctor was like, "No, he's not that. He thinks you are because you can't follow him. Like his mind works different, right?
Yeah.
And the way like the martial arts that he's into, like Louis is an archangel, right? So he does certain skills. Like when he plays the guitar, it's like heavenly. It's like you're in a cathedral and you start to tear, right?
Mm.
Because how he plays. And he does micro mosaics, right? And oh yeah, like 1/8 of an inch kind of thing, right? And there's no grout lines. It's amazing.
Right.
And when he's into martial arts, he's into like dim mak, right? He's into the stuff where they believe Bruce Lee died from, where
Mm.
it's like when the planets are in alignment, right? And the atmosphere is right?
Yeah.
Somebody comes up to you and touches you on the shoulder, and your liver explodes in 3 days, like that kind of stuff. And so what he used to show me was he used to put a candle in the corner and cover it, and he used to take all the energy out of the air, and he used to shut the candle, and he would do it all the time. It wasn't like a fluke,
Mm.
that's just Louis.
But
Louis does some
you
odd
think
things.
your friendship and your experiences with Louis has led you into the quantum field and this energy concept of more or less self-healing and
That's exactly what it is. It's self-healing, right?
yeah,
That's why my next book is called The Shaman from Jersey. And
yeah.
and people are like, oh, you're arrogant. You call yourself a shaman. Shaman just means heal. It's just a
Mm,
healer. That's all
yeah.
it is. It's just a different, just different terminology. But I have to tell you, I had an event when before Louis got to Jamaica, I did something called the Circle of Life, where I sat in a circle for 3 days. And in the middle of the bush, you make a 15-foot circle. And you can only leave if you have to go to the bathroom. But you bring your food in, your little niblets and stuff. And in 3 days, you're bitten, bored, stung by everything, creepy crawlers, everything. And what the premise behind it is the first day you see everything outside, right? Because you're just sitting in a circle. The second day, you see everything inside.
Mm,
The third day, you start to hallucinate and you start to problem solve, right? And at the end of this thing, I felt this energy come into me, and I talked to that energy for 10 years. And I stopped talking to the energy once my daughter was born. And the conversations that I've had with her and continue to have it's amazing and profound because it's like we have a connection. I have conversations with my daughter that dads and daughters don't have because I grew up in the streets. I don't want my daughter ever going to the streets for any answers to her problems.
good
Right.
for you.
So we talk about everything, and we talk about like, things that, daughters shouldn't be telling their dad. It's like sometimes it's a little too much
Things
information,
that we
but
don't want to know. Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what. But sometimes it's like, hey, do me a favor, stop, tell mom, don't tell dad,
Hmm.
right? But I'm just so glad that we have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And I shared with Victoria my message to humanity, and I think that I think we have to nurture relationships now because the earth is changing. And I'm here to disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed, man. I think the world needs a shattering wake up call because things just aren't going the way we were taught.
That's right.
And
I'll be honest with you. I thought COVID and the pandemic was going to be a wake up call of sorts for us, but of course that was not, unfortunately. We
no, it
went
wasn't.
we went right back down the same shithole we started it.
I believe it got worse.
And even further, right, right.
I believe it got worse. Yeah.
So how do you work with people now? What is your method, or what do you do to help people that want to learn these techniques and want to self-heal?
I give everybody 15 minutes and you'd be surprised how many people don't call because people would rather die than change. Right. I get
It's that uncomfortability because people like being where they are, and to change, you have to come out of your comfort zone, and people don't want to do that.
Yeah, you have to shatter your world. I tell everybody, it's you versus you, and one of you fuckers needs to die. You need to die. That person that you are needs to die for the other person to come in. So it's like when you're healing the inner child, right? The inner child, like you're as the adult, you're looking at your inner child, and it's like, you didn't have a manual for whatever you went through, right? The inner child just took on whatever happened, right? So the inner child's going to look at the adult and be like, wow, man, look who you've become without a manual, just from your experiences. And it's like each event shatters you more and more unless you shift it and have a biochemistry change. Because when you do these recalls, it's uncomfortable as hell because you're flooding your body with hormones and and chemicals, right? That are created for fight and flight because we're cave people. People are like, oh, I drive my BMW. That makes you feel good. I talk to people all the time that have 15,000 square foot houses, and as soon as they close the front door, they're miserable. And it's like, how you have all of this stuff, these 3D versions, right, of all the things that you're supposed to have, all of these outlets, and you're still miserable. How did that happen?
Mm.
Because you have the state changes, man. And as soon as you get uncomfortable, you go back to your comfort zone.
Yeah, you have
I,
to get to that
I
comfort zone
love,
to make real change and make things better. You have to break it down to rebuild it up.
Absolutely. You have to shut. Like, I remember sitting in so much pain, and it was the mental pain, right? So like I was molested as a kid, and I grew up in an environment. My dad was a flamethrower in the Marines. My mom was this hardcore Sicilian woman, right? And it was like, suck it up. Whatever it is, suck it up. You just move on, move forward. But they threw so much love at us, right? So it was like there was so much love. I was the kid. I was the kid, 15 years old. See my dad in the street, go up, give him a hug and a kiss.
yeah.
Like because you grew up in an Italian household. It's like that's what you do. You hug, you kiss, and
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then dad's like, hey, you piece of shit, like like Archie Bunker, right? That was my dad, right? And just the environment that we grew up in. I grew up in 80s New Jersey, man. And it
Yeah,
was like, we didn't have these coping mechanism skills and all
yeah.
of this stuff.
I,
And
I, I agree with you on that. I think that because I assume we're pretty much the same age because I grew up in the 80s too, and we didn't have that. So for people like me, and I'm sure for some of the people that you've run into, worked with, still coach to this day, I find it very difficult to get past the reticence toward that stuff, toward the what I would just call the foo-foo, the voodoo spirituality concepts that are out there. I have a real hard time pushing past that and I do think it's a product of where we brought up and the culture at the time. There wasn't this deep introspection that people are so willing to do now. So for me and a lot of people like me, and congratulations to you because you've overcome it. I think there's definitely just an inherent pushback against this type of work. And I think it's that pain, the fear of, well, what if I go through all this work and nothing really changed anyway? So we're just going to stay again in that comfort zone because we're not necessarily trained and brought up to buy into it.
But
Does
that's
that,
what I love. That's why I love what I do, because it's immediate. Like you could feel the immediate pain, right?
I might have
I
to
can
have I might have to have you fix me.
I can't fix you. Only you could fix you.
I've been
You know
trying
what
to
I mean.
help him for a long time, Craig. Saying.
No, I'm serious. I'd love to. I think that I'll connect with you, and I'll go through one of your sessions. I'd love to feel more of the ability to get in touch with some of the stuff that you're describing because I go through a lot of these trainings. I go to a lot of these self-professed gurus, the life improvement coaches, the this coach, that coach, and I wind up walking out of there. I'm like, this guy's so full of shit. I can't believe I just wasted all my money and all my time listening to this guy tell me his magic potion or his sob story, this great grandiose near-death experience thing. And it's just like, what? And I don't buy into any of it. I'm such a cynical skeptic, but I know in my heart that there is something.
I love cynical skeptics because I've been the biggest cynical skeptic, really. And
And
I just tell people, I'm just a knucklehead from Jersey, and if I can figure this shit out, anybody can.
that's what I'm saying. I feel the same way. I think that we're all just a bunch of knuckleheads, and I'm just like, I can't get past it. A guy I was talking to recently, he's a pretty well-known author, and he said, the people that he's hanging around with and that he likes to hang around with are what he would call, euphemistically speaking, like autistic, in that they don't really land in any one
Category.
target.
They got different computer software systems.
They got different ways of viewing things, and I'm like, Jesus, that's really a good way to look at it because these people are all so high on what they're doing. They're so truthfully engaged in buying into the wonders of what life is, and I'm like, what the hell are you people smoking, man? We all doing ayahuasca these days,
Oh, I mean, man, I've done over 300 rounds of dimethyltryptamine. I mean, no, like for real.
I'm afraid of that stuff, man.
Why? Because
Because
because you have your ego, your pride, the things
I
that you
just
hold on to.
I'm afraid of it medically. Like I'm
No,
worried.
Ayahuasca. This is the stuff they give to the Jesuits once they graduate, the Vatican.
Yeah, yeah,
This is the Matrix, man. Red pill, blue pill. That's it. That's it. That's what it's all about. Let
yeah.
me tell you a quick story, right? Because when you brought up autistic. So I was doing some stuff online years ago, and it was like I was buying some crypto or whatever, and the transaction didn't go through. And I needed that money. Like I needed that money because it was like it was all the money I had in the world, right? Wasn't a lot. And I needed that immediately. So I was looking for the company and everything. Come to find out they were in Atlanta. And I was in Atlanta at the time. So I went and I took my daughter with me because I know I'm different without my daughter. And I took her with me and we found this place and I'm knocking on the door and this young lady comes and I kid you not, she's holding a computer in front of her face, right? And she goes to open up the door like this and she's opening the door and she's like, yes, can I help you? And I was like, yes, I need to figure something out. And a guy comes over and he's like, hey, what are you doing here? I was like, well, I didn't get all my stuff done online because it's going to take X amount of days. I found your place and I started scanning the room and there had to be 20 or 30 of these kids, man, all in their computers like this, right? All in their computers. And I was like, this is what this is. All right. And he's like, nah, you got to go and everything. I was like, listen, man, if I don't get my transaction done immediately right now, because I need my money, I'm going to set every one of these fuckers off. And you're going to have a problem for the next 10 hours. And he was like, you son of a bitch, you would do that? I was like, oh, absolutely. Fix my shit now. Fix it. In 10 minutes, my stuff was fixed. And he was like, get out of here. Don't ever come back. And I was like, look, if I have a problem again, I'll give everybody your address.
Right.
because I saw what that was, man. And
Yeah.
he knew I was such an SOB that I would do it. 100%. 100%. I don't like this online stuff. I got hacked 3 years ago and lost all my intellectual property. Everything. My 9/11 book, 25,000 email list, like everything. And it was from some company gave my information out.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do with it, and everything was stripped. So I mean, I know, like, I know horror stories, man. And
Right.
I never want to get tapped into these horror stories ever again.
No, and you figured out a way to reinvent yourself and become the shaman of North Jersey and to help other people to do just the same thing. I have one last question for you, and it's a big one. I mean, you talk about trauma when you were a kid. I know you're very much involved with the trafficking aspect of things that are going on now from what I believe you intimated. You have
Not so much now. It's when I was dying of cancer, I was creating mentorship in Atlanta.
right.
And for entrepreneurs, for young entrepreneurs, and some of these young entrepreneurs came in to have some sessions. Like, I thought it was an entrepreneurial experience, which my daughter sat in. I made sure she came to all my meetings for the most part. And we saw more and more that these young entrepreneurs, Atlanta's a huge trafficking site. Huge
Really?
trafficking site.
Mm.
Yeah, because
Well,
it's got
anyway,
the busiest airport in the world.
Yes.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So you go from, the trauma as a kid, then you, excuse me, have success as an adult, other issues, obviously, other things happen in life. Then you respond, thankfully, to the tragedy that was 9/11. Then you wind up with all these years and years and years of major medical issues and things like this. And then you have discovered the quantum field and done that work and have helped countless people. So my big question is, given what you know now, would you do it all over again?
Sure, because it wouldn't be me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be who I am. So I help thousands of guys around the world talk about molestation, right? Because guys get molested like girls do.
Sure.
It's just, and it's like, so is this going to sound callous, right? But I look at everything just as a learning experience. I don't look at it as, I was molested as a kid and I had this stuff happen to me, and everything's just an experience. And I believe, like I said before, we're light seeking the human experience. So how can I look at it as a bad event if so much good came out of it? It's just an experience. That's why I have zero emotional attachment. I could tell stories all day long about just how I've gone through things. And I want everybody to understand that they can do the same thing. It's just going to require some work. It's going to require some humility. It's going to require that sweat equity. There's certain things, like a lot of my work, it's going to seem weird, but I do it for free. Because I don't want people to go through pain points, right? I mean, I coach people. As soon as it comes down to money, then you're getting charged, right? Because, entrepreneurs, they want everything for free. And it's like, no. That's a different pay schedule entirely.
Right.
But like cancer patients and stuff like that, I can never charge them. I never could. And that's the reason why I'm in the situation that I'm at, man.
No, I know what you mean. Because in my law practice, I always had it. That's one of my bigger failures as a lawyer. Was I just felt, I have knowledge, I have the ability to help people, and I never could make a lot of money doing it because I was always felt so sketchy about charging people the fees that I was supposed to be charging them. But so I know exactly what you're talking about.
But when it comes to entrepreneurs, I crack them over the head.
Right.
I used to study What was his name? Gary Halbert.
Don't know.
Most copywritten man in the world. Right?
Okay.
He used to hate dentists. He used to charge dentists 8 times what he charged a normal person. and he was the most copywritten man in the world. And he had like 30 employees. This is going back in the 70s. Like 30 employees. He created the coat of arms. And he had 30 employees, and their job was to literally fill out bank slips. That's how much money he was making.
Wow.
And you know, he the way he taught was like, you can give this stuff away, right? Because 99% of the people ain't going to do it anyway. So how can I charge somebody if, like, I do everything one-on-one? I don't do group stuff, right? I do everything one-on-one because I take people through a whole transaction. Because everybody is different.
Sure.
That's why I give everybody 15 minutes. People like in my industry are like, what, are you kidding me? That's too much time. Do you know how many people will give you information about what they're doing in 15 minutes? I want to know. What, do you have a real estate deal? You know, you're going to set me up with free food? You know, there's so many things, because when you give somebody the ability to express themselves, they're going to express themselves, right? So you ever walk up to somebody and be like, how was your day? I never do that anymore, ever. I walk up to him and be like, what was the best part of your day? Oh, now it's a biochemistry shift. Now they're happy you asked. And then they're going to give you the best part of their day. So it makes them feel good. Now I got you as a client.
Yeah. That's a really good hack right there. Because you're right. I mean, it's so easy to say, it was fine. Or, oh, I'm so busy. So busy, you know. But listen, man, I've really enjoyed this talk. It's really, really picked me up. I'll say that much. I don't know about Victoria over there, but I just think it's fascinating stuff. It really is, especially from from an admitted skeptic and cynic of things along these lines. I just find it fascinating to hear the stories, and now the more I talk to people like you, the more I want to get into and doing the work. So I'm hoping that the people who are listening to us in this episode, who are also caught and want to do the work, can find you. So you got to make sure to give us the information so that people can find you and get some of the energy from you that you are effervescing right now, just here across the airwaves to us. So I really appreciate you being here, man. You picked me up this morning for sure.
Thank you for the opportunity of sharing my story.
Thank you.
Now, I'm gonna chase you down.
I'll give you all of his information. I just met him yesterday, and so I will get you all of the information and get you guys
Excellent.
together.
All right. Thanks, Craig. Thanks for being here. And as always, Victoria, it's a pleasure to see you.
Thanks, guys.